And good afternoon. We're back. We're here with Jen-Frankel, and you wrote a book. You're the author of a book called Undead Redhead.
I know. Redheads of the world rejoice. This is actually, see, when you actually write a book, you want to make your protagonist have as many challenges as possible. So I decided to make her a redhead, which is popular, but there's also a stigma. And I wanted to make her a vegan, which is difficult. Another difficult thing. And then, of course, she's a zombie as well.
Oh, the poor dear.
I know.
I used to be a redhead.
Well, you still are.
Well, not really. Well, at heart I am. I was never born a redhead, but at heart I'm a redhead because anytime people used to see me, then I'll say, "Oh, trouble."
There you go.
Sure enough, yeah, I'm feisty.
Oh,
everything
yeah.
that goes along with being a redhead.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't have a short temper, but I'm very,
Oh, of course. Yeah. Well, my redhead, she's a little bit meek and timid for a redhead, and it's only actually after she dies that she starts really living her life.
Well,
so it's kind of a
the end is where we begin.
Yeah, when it's kind of a parallel about how difficult it is to be yourself when everybody has expectations of you, and sometimes stepping right back out of that. It's actually we're kind of talking a little bit about that before we started
we
started shooting. Yeah.
Yeah. What we were saying? Just take me back because I have attention deficit disorder.
Excellent.
If there is such a thing.
You know what it is? It's that you put so much stuff up there that eventually you can't find it all.
Exactly. It's like your hard drive has to search really long and hard to find something, and it can't.
It's not that you forget things, it's just you need a better filing system.
Exactly. And that's what I find. Like I was telling you, I'm not ashamed. I'm going to be 60 years old in June. So there's a lot of memory in this hard drive that needs to be processed properly.
Exactly. And I got to say, I'm still not very good at throwing things away when I should. I probably should throw things away more.
Like what?
Well, I need to declutter. Oh my gosh, yeah, totally. No.
Purge?
I was just saying to Chris, sometimes the best thing in the world you can do is fire someone, because if they're not in the right place, sometimes they need that little push. I've been fired many times. I think you were saying, like, it's good to get fired from a job that's not the right job for you. Mm-hmm. It's really good. It's really good because sometimes it just actually allows you to do the thing that you mean to do.
Sometimes. Other times you can go around aimlessly forever and thinking,
that's true
okay,
too.
I need money, so what do I really do? I'm not getting what I want to do.
And money part's always been a hard thing for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So not only you were telling me that this is your latest book, but what else have you written?
Well, it's actually not even my latest. It's just the one that I'm kind of getting most of the traction on. It was actually optioned for a feature film a while ago, and I'm actually. The options, I don't know if you know, you probably know how these things work. You get an option, then somebody else takes the option after the option expires, and you do a bunch of rewrites, and then things kind of go, and then they stop. And the film business is wonderful, very frustrating, very frustrating. I know the other thing that I was going to talk about. We actually shot a short film, first short film I've done in a while. Years and years ago, we had a show on that channel, like way back in the early days of that radio, I guess.
Really? Which one?
It was, I think we just called it The Show.
The Show?
Yeah, The Show.
And here we are on the show. On the show,
yeah, exactly. And we talked about, I wasn't on the air very often, but I helped produce it, and we always talked about screenplays, and we talked to filmmakers, and we were making a lot of films in those days ourselves, and I kind of stopped doing that and focused on the actual novel writing. I've got six or eight books out right now, depending on how you count books.
Okay. Tell me something.
Yeah.
Your books, are they geared to a certain age group?
I'm kind of all over the place with that, too. I've got a really cute little, there we go. I've got an adorable little, I've got a cute children's young adult science fiction fantasy book called Leia of Earth that came out a couple of years back. I actually did one for the Montreal Comic-Con that's actually bilingual. It's a fairy tale that's told in 2 languages with pictures and words.
And that's the Undead Redhead. How old is she supposed to be?
In that one, she's in her early 20s. But I kept the language.
So is she dead yet?
Yeah, she dies in a terrible wedding bouquet toss accident, actually.
That must have been a horrific wedding. How does this happen?
Oh my gosh! Well, you know how tough bridesmaids are.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Bitches.
No. 2 bridesmaids go for the bouquet at the same time, and before you know it, one of them's dead in a fountain.
And especially if it's a heavy. Brides.
Well, it's mostly
clashes.
It's two of them go for the bouquet at the same time, and one of them has just discovered that the other one is actually maybe doing things with her boyfriend that would make her a little unhappy if she found out. So
that's terrible.
Lots of animosity.
Why do people do that to each other?
Because we want our lives to resemble a reality TV show, and we don't realize that our lives are far more interesting than that.
When did people get so distracted and detached, hear me out, from their own reality and their own life journey that they want someone else's life, or they think the grass is greener? Now, I personally think that we can change that whole statement. The grass is only greener where you water it.
I like that.
I didn't come up with that, but I'm into Buddha and a whole bunch of different belief systems, and I've incorporated them into my life. So they're not platitudes. What I say, I really mean, and I really act in.
Well, it's a language to talk about your own life, and I think that's a valid way to approach anything. Like, you know, when you're talking about something that's a scientific or a mathematical concept, mathematics or you know, physics equations are the best way to describe it. When you're talking about human existence, it's so complicated that we almost need to talk in metaphors, for one thing.
Exactly, and that's what actually metaphysics is all about.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of a student of metaphysics as well.
Well, I'm just wondering, maybe what you're saying is that we spend way too much time watering each other's gardens and not enough watering our own. Because if the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, you've probably been, either you're watching them water their garden or you're putting the water there yourself instead of on yours.
The reason I use that metaphor is because what people don't understand is that it's all in, believe it or not, in the Commandments, which is a commentary.
Right.
All right. The 10 Commandments, they say, you know, covet, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, girlfriend, whatever. When you start to covet someone else, if those two people haven't really closed off or ended the relationship, you've got to realize that when you hurt others, you hurt yourself more, because the intent is there. If you're causing harm to someone, if you're going after someone's boyfriend or someone's husband, you're gonna create a lot of chaos in those people's lives. So you have to be strong and say, no, you either end it with that person first, completely, and be truthful and say, I really don't want to continue this relationship anymore. I've got someone else. Or I'm seeing someone else.
How often do we hurt people because we're trying to spare their feelings?
But you're not sparing their feelings.
It's terrible being upfront with someone. But have you noticed? I really notice a lot of people, and I expect this is honestly like when you were talking before about the idea that we're all detached from our lives.
Yes.
I don't think that's a new thing. I think that we might be more aware of the comparisons between ourselves and others. But even with that, I think we've got the universal problem, and I see it happening in the States right now. Our universal problem is that we want to suck up to bullies. The biggest problem that, stay with me on this. I think that one of our problems as a species is that we tend to reward bullies. And when we reward bullies, we're stopping ourselves from saying what we feel because we're trying to ally ourselves with the strongest person in the room. So you see that happening with Trump right now. Because he's a bully, people like him. People are afraid not to like him. And if anyone stands up against him, I mean, it makes you feel good when you're part of a group.
But that is what I call mob mentality.
Well, yeah, but that mob is actually full of individuals, and I think that's what we've always got to keep remembering is that there's no real us and them ever. There's always just people.
Well, if we remember that we are all people and we each are interconnected somehow or another, we would not be looking at doing harm to them or being jealous.
Right, and we wouldn't reward people that harm other people.
Well, this is it. If you actually, that is all about empowering yourself, because if you allow a bully to have power and control over you.
I think it's important to empower others as well, though, because then you create an environment in which a lot of people are standing up to the bully.
Yes.
And that's really important. So I think that that's actually a big theme in my books is the idea that...
Empowering yourself?
Well, it's the idea that there is a better way for people to behave towards each other. And there's worse ways to behave towards each other. And I think we end up... you were talking about how we have a lot of superhero movies, superhero television, superhero movies.
And I'm sick to death of them.
Well, and you know why I'm sick to death of them is because they have a very simplistic view of how people can behave in life. They have basically this idea. I mean, there's nothing I hate more than a story that all revolves around one person is coming to save everybody. Because it's not realistic. We all have to work on the things we can do for each other in small ways. That's what a superhero is to me.
Yes, and touching on that, looking for someone to save us, a thought just crossed my mind that we are all looking for saviors. That's because,
and it's so sad.
we need to have someone save us really from ourselves.
Yeah.
And the reason I said we were more detached now is because of technology, because people aren't getting enough face time. Kids growing up with computers and tablets and doing things that you wouldn't have dreamed of even 5 years ago.
Here's an alternate way of looking at it. For me, the art that I do, I couldn't be doing 10 years ago. I started writing like over 20 years ago, and my very first newsletter went out typed on an electric typewriter, cut into pieces, pasted together with like Scotch tape, and photocopied at the Shoppers Drug Mart. That's the only way that I had to get my work out to people.
And I did the same thing, copy and paste.
But think about, I don't even think some people know exactly why it's called cut and paste.
It's not copy and paste by right-clicking. It's copy and paste
with actual, and often actually pasting. Yeah. There's a real physical component to the way it used to be.
Yes, there is.
But I mean, the things that even the way that technology's developed in the last 5 years, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing with my books. I couldn't be in a position where I could actually write and farm out my work to be edited, collaborate with people on covers. The things that I can do because the technology exists actually means that I'm actually more in contact with people than I ever have been before. And I actually think that Facebook has been an incredible boon to people like me too, because I've connected with people I never could have found before.
Exactly.
So if I was limited to the people that I could actually meet on a day-to-day basis, face-to-face, I would be screwed. I would really be screwed.
Well, if you're putting something out and then you need a specific audience and you need to reach them. Okay, and we're back. I'm sorry about that. What were we discussing just before
I think we were talking about superheroes.
Okay.
That happens a lot. I spend a lot of time at comic book conventions, so superheroes are kind of one of those subjects you can't escape.
And how, if we take in the TV shows on now, for example, I told you earlier, I love The Big Bang Theory.
Right.
Absolutely love that show. If that show has its last run and doesn't last as long as MASH or Friends, I'm going to be devastated. There is nothing I'm going to be able to watch because TV basically sucks right now.
Maybe they'll spin it off, and because I would watch the Amy Farrah Fowler show in a heartbeat.
I don't know.
I think she's hilarious.
If she stays, well, depending on the character.
Well, it's always hard. I mean, I think that I don't know if you've been following some of the news in the television world. They've actually killed off 3 major female characters in 3 different shows.
Which show?
Sleepy Hollow. They killed the female lead. The Blacklist.
Oh yeah, I know. I saw
and
that
Castle.
one.
Castle. They got rid of the female lead.
I never watched Castle.
Well, I see that happening on television all the time. Is that it doesn't take very long for the women characters.
But why are they killing off the female leads?
Because they don't bother writing them very well in the first place. They kind of put them in because they're supposed to, and because they're really, the writers tend to be invested in the male characters in a way that they're not always invested in the female characters. And you can watch that, because usually if a show goes on to a second or third season, a lot of the female characters, you'll find that they don't have very much in the way of arc. They get less and less interesting, less and less important. And sometimes they're swapped out. And it doesn't really matter because they're not really that well written to begin with.
So then are we saying that it's still an old boys club?
Oh, no, it's definitely still an old boys club. I think you know that as well as I do. That's one of the other reasons that I write the books that I do. Undead Redhead is actually very full of female characters, to the point where the first producer was working on it said, I think we're going to have to swap out some of these women and make them men, or add some more male characters. And then we had a big conversation about that, and he actually was amazing. He came fully on board, and he also came on board with the fact that I'd actually written characters that were non-white. And I mean, I have to admit, I'm probably more pushing I want more female characters than I want more multiracial characters, just because the female character, I always think, there's 50% women in the world. There's like...
At least.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure with China. With China's one-child policy, I think we've shifted. Apparently, there's actually more men now.
They're having a lot here now.
Yeah, there's apparently more men in the world now than there are women. We're not at a majority.
You gotta wonder,
but we're almost 50% one way or another.
Wait a minute. With all the men in the world, and the fact that with all the pharma and drugs going into our water system, and aside from the fact that fluoride in the water is making us dumb.
Speak for yourself. I know what you're saying.
It's increase in Alzheimer's and all kinds of different things. I'm not going to get into the studies right now because we don't have more than a couple minutes left. But if all these people, men under 35, are going through puberty and they're eating hormone-fed and antibiotic-fed animals, it's going to further mess with their endocrine system. We're not going to be able to reproduce, which I think
some
is an
people
agenda.
Who would say that's a positive thing. But
some people shouldn't reproduce.
Think
Others, I think we should still be able to keep humanity and humankind the way it was.
I've never been a burn it all down to make it to start over. I've never been that kind of person, for sure.
Well, there are people who want that, though.
Yeah. Some Bernie Sanders friends, actually, I think.
No.
Just throw out the system and we'll start again.
Well, throw out the system the way it is, because it's not a democracy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm big on evolution. I'm not so much on burn it down and start over. But that's not everybody, of course.
But there are people who control a lot of people in government and a lot of corporations in this world who are into a depopulation.
Do you wonder? I'm always wondering why certain people believe in their heart of hearts that they're different from other people and better, and that means that they can do anything they want.
Well, those people, first of all, they're born into those types of families.
Yeah.
And that's all they're taught. Now, it's absolute insanity, because a lot of these families start out with the father abusing the daughters at a very young age. So that's all they know, and they think that's perfectly normal.
It's amazing what you can get used to, but until
you get out and you see other people. But they think that they are entitled, that we're just useless.
Yep. I don't believe that. I don't believe that, and I think that's what
everybody
needs to change.
Everybody is here for a reason.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that humility is a big part of what we need to learn as a species.
Humility?
Oh, yeah. Because if we're humble enough to realize that we're not better than other people, really takes a lot of the wind out of the sails of the entitlement that you see.
Oh, I think I've gone through humility often enough in my life that it's like there's no more ego. Ego's out the window.
Well, and there's a difference between being humble and being beaten down, too. Definitely a difference between those.
Well, things just happen in life where, people get away from you, and you have to take different turns, and sometimes you numb yourself down.
Yeah.
But Anyhow, I'm looking forward to. So, what age group would you say that the Undead Redhead would appeal to?
I'd say that this is universally. It's a universal book.
appeal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I stayed away from most of the swear words. Stayed away from the racy language. You can pretty much read it if you're a smart 10-year-old, and if you're a And if you're 101 and just got your beautiful certificate from the Queen for lasting that long.
The fucking Queen.
I know. The Queen will send you something at 100, apparently.
Not if she
I don't know if she still
lives
does.
that
That'd
long.
be so nice if she. I'm going to live to 114 myself.
Really?
Yeah, because I was told that somebody could see me as a nasty old lady with a stick.
I don't think I'm going to be a nasty old lady. I think I'm going to be more of a sage and
I'm going to be slapping people with my cane saying, "Shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm 114."
Yeah.
That's yeah. And I'll still be on the comic book circuit. And I'll still be writing books. And I'll still be trying to make the world a better place.
Good for you, as long as, we can also get back to reality. Yeah. Jen-Frankel, thank you so much. And the Undead Redhead is a vegan zombie. Check it out. Well, she can't eat.
She doesn't want to eat brains. It's more.
Yeah, it's vegetables. Okay. Thank you so much.
It's great to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.